Good morning, student. Now, today the article is Frank-Hertz experiment. In this experiment, in 1914, German physicists James Frank and Gustav Ludwig Hertz performed an experiment which is provided a direct demonstration that discrete energy levels to exist. The Frank-Hertz experiment was a physics experiment that provided support for the Bohr model of the atom prior to quantum mechanics. The experimental arrangement of this experiment like this type. In this experiment, experiment involved this tube containing low pressure gas. In this tube, low pressure gas is filled up. Then they used a mercury gas. This is mercury gas fitted with 3 electrodes, 1, 2 and 3 electrodes. That is F, G and P. There are 3 electrodes fitted in this tube. An electron emitting cathode A mesh grid for acceleration. This cathode or filament mesh grid for acceleration of electron. And anode F, this F is the filament which is heated by low tension battery. This is LT, means low tension battery. This battery connected to filament. Then filament will be ignited and then evolve the electrons. To produce electrons by thermionic emission, this filament will be increasing heating, and then heating it will be release the electrons. A positive potential V, this is negative potential, this is positive potential. Positive potential V is applied between filament F and wire mesh called grid, this grid. Voltage V can be applied, this is varying voltage. This arrow indicates that this is varying voltage. The voltage range is 0 to 60 volt. The anode called collector, this P, this is anode called collector, is held at slightly negative potential. This is negative potential provided to anode or P to the grid, although positive compared to the cathode. This potential acts as a regarding potential because of charge on electron is negative. Okay, the grid voltage is positive because this grid will accelerate this electron to anode. The anode charge is negative. This negative and this negative charge will repel each other. This grid accelerate this maximum speed, electron will come to anode, but anode charge is negative. This negative and this will be the repelling electrons. Okay, that is called as regarding potential between G and P. This is the regarding, this area is known as regarding potential. The accelerating potential V between G and F is gradually increased, and the collector IP, this collector IP means this is IP measured when V is or voltage is increased from 0 to 0.5 volt. No current is observed because of 0 to 0.5 volt is used for heating the filament. When V is greater than 0.5 volt, following facts are observed. This voltage will be increased greater than 0.5 volt. Some observation or some facts are observed are shown in next diagram. Okay, this is the experimental diagram. Then next diagram is, our following fact is, this is the graph of accelerating voltage versus electric current. Okay, the first fact is, in this experiment, at low potential difference up to 4.9 volt, this volt 4.9 volt, with mercury vapor in tube. Okay, the current through the tube increases steadily with increasing potential difference. This current will be increases, slowly increasing this current 0 to 60. The higher the voltage increased, the electric field F and G, F means filament and G means grid, in the tube, and electrons were drawn more forcefully towards collector or point P and through the accelerating grid. Voltage steadily increasing, the current will pass forcefully to point P or collector current. At 4.9 volt, the current drops sharply. This current reaching this peak point, that is the 4.9 volt, then current drop sharply, almost back to zero. Okay, this is because some of electron loses their whole kinetic energy, because this area electron goes forcefully. Okay, but their power will be, or energy will be vanished in this, that is the kinetic energy will be vanished, and they goes to drop it or lost their kinetic energy due to inelastic collision. Okay, with the orbital electron of mercury atom and will not reach the collector. This first electron goes to only 4.9 volt, and then they lost kinetic energy and drop out almost zero. The current increases steadily once again if the voltage is increased further, as the electron in the stronger field are again accelerated after suffering inelastic collision until 9.8 volt is reached. Because of forcefully current will be applied. Current range is 0 to 60 volt. This area get 10 volt. This area get 10 to 20 volt. That's why the peak are increasing. These peak are created, then all electrons again lost their kinetic energy and drop out almost zero. Again I have to increase this energy in 50 volt. The increasing peak also increases and they reaches the 14.7, almost 15 volt, and then reaches this point, it will also lose their kinetic energy and goes to zero. This procedure continue again and again until and unless voltage is 60 volt. Voltage is greater than or equal to 60 volt. Okay. The series of dips in current are observed at approximately 9 point volt higher than previous one because of voltage increases 10 volt, 20 volt, 50 volt, 60 volt. The peak will be increases again and again. Frank and Hertz were able to explain their experiment in terms of elastic and inelastic collision. At low potential, the accelerated electrons acquire only the modest amount of kinetic energy. When they collide with mercury atoms in the tube, the collisions are purely elastic collisions. Electron collide with one another. This electron collide with this electron. This collision is called as elastic collision. However, when kinetic energy of the electron is equal to the energy required for lift the electron in mercury atom from lower orbit to higher orbit, the collisions are inelastic. The electrons goes to lower orbit to higher orbit. This collision is known as inelastic collision. The external electron transfer of energy to electron in mercury atom to make transition to the higher state. Okay. The Frank-Hertz measured the wavelength emitted radiations by spectroscopic technique. They observed wavelength, this wavelength, they observed wavelength 2537 angstrom. This wavelength will be observed. Therefore, the corresponding photon energy is formula is E is equal to H into nu. This is the formula of energy, or E is equal to Hc by lambda, since nu is equal to 1 by lambda. Put the values of H 6.63 into 10 to the power minus 34. What is the value of nu? Means velocity or speed, 3 into 10 to the power 8 meter per second. And what is the lambda? Lambda, given lambda 2537 angstrom means 10 to the power minus 10 meter. Calculating these values, the total energy given 7.83 into 10 to the power minus 19 joule. Okay. Then convert this energy into electron volt. Dividing by charge 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 16 coulombs. The energy is calculated 4.9 electron volt. This is the agreement with the experimental result and supports the views that mercury atom has energy level quite sharp and discrete and cannot exist the intermediate energy state. The Frank-Hertz experiment showed discrete atomic levels of the atom. This experiment is useful for discrete atomic levels of the atom.